MQ presents Watermelon and Rhubarb. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Watermelon Rhubarb. We are a movie, TV show, and media reviewing podcast. So if you love movies, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Miranda, and you can find me on Instagram at Miranda Movies Media, and that's Miranda with a Y. And today, I have a lovely guest host here with me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Mika. You can also find me on Instagram. Good luck with that, though. Hi.
You have a fun fact?
I do. I am an opera singer. There's your fun fact.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Today we're talking about Atomic Blonde. A quick summary of the plot. The main character's name is Lorraine, and she's one of the most elite spies in the MI6, which is the British Secret Service.
Fun fact, for the longest time I thought that was M16. I was very confused when I first heard MI6.
I mean, M16, that would make sense. She uses all of her lethal skills to stay alive during her mission in 1989, right before the Berlin Wall falls. And she's hunting for a list that has vital information that can affect spies everywhere, including herself. So now that we have that covered, let's get started. What would you like to talk about first? Opinions, favorite part, music?
Music. The music choices in that movie were probably my favorite because it had such a pop vibe to it most of the time that it was completely at odds with the vaguely serious tones of the movie itself. I heard 99 Red Balloons come on and I was like, oh, this man is, he's gonna, that's a skateboard. Oh no.
Oh, yeah, that scene, I did not really like that. I was like, you don't gotta beat the dude up. Why you gotta do that?
That's his skateboard, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Not with his own skateboard.
The pop songs, I guess you could call them, are very different to the seriousness of the plot.
Yes, that's an accurate way to describe what's going on in there.
And I believe most of the music that was picked was created in 1980, during the 1980s. It fits in with the period where they're sitting and how everything is going. So that's like real music they would have listened to in that time period. So there was no like modern songs. Like you're not hearing Happy in the movie because that would be a very weird thing, especially because this is a spy movie and it takes place in a certain time that everybody knows, and yeah, the music just helps reinforce that idea.
Yep, it really does. And the fact that I know one of the song 99 Red Balloons is a very noticeable tune, so a lot of people in the audience would have understood it, but the fact that it is also in German helps tie the entire movie together as something that we would recognize time period wise, because a lot of people in the older generation recognize the tune, but it's also we're tying in chronological events that we may not be thinking of specifically when we hear that.
I did notice that some of the songs were in German. I was like, wait, I can't sing along to this because I don't know German, but I know that song. Anything else about the music that you like, or anything else?
Really, no. It was just what really stood out to me was the contrasting tones between the pop and music and the somber spy movie.
Speaking of contrasting tones, this movie is drenched in neon pink, neon green, neon blue, everywhere.
The color scheme was phenomenal.
It was, definitely. But then, at the same time, it was all desaturated. It creates this kind of noir-ish feel with the high contrast of neon colors compared to the desaturating, which is like the black and white style of film noirs.
Yeah, I get the style that you're talking about, and it was, I haven't seen very many film noir films, but the whole kind of nostalgia feeling almost of a spy movie, like, oh, that happened a long time ago, and the way that it tugs at your heartstrings, similarly to nostalgia, was really present, and that made it feel very film noir.
I didn't really get nostalgia, but I get what you're saying. It kind of calls to the past.
Yes, exactly. That's the feeling I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense, because film noirs started a long time ago. And then obviously with the plot, there's, the presence of crime, violence. You have complex characters. You have the main plot line, and then you have other plot lines that go on. And there's like this sense of mystery and moral questioning throughout the whole thing. Because you don't really know what's going on. You think one thing, and then you get to the end of the movie, and it's
a complete 180.
Yeah. You're like, JK, actually, it's this person, not this person.
Surprise!
Yeah. Which, there's going to be spoilers in this, so you have been warned. But, with the list, and you think that it's James McAvoy's character who is Satchel, but it's not. It's actually her.
It's Charlize Theron herself.
Yes. Yes, it is. And then you rewatch the movie and you're like, oh, duh, there's the clues. Why didn't I see that the first time?
It's one of those movies that it does get better with each watch. Mm-hmm. Because you start noticing more and more things that are alluded to in the end as you go through it.
Which just means that you gotta rewatch movies, because why would you only watch a movie one time? I don't get why people do that. But
first time I went over to your house, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen this movie this many times. I was like, you rewatch movies?
I was like, yes, I rewatch movies. It's fun. Oh, I want to talk about the graphics for the name card.
Oh, they were gorgeous.
Beautiful. As a graphic design.
So exquisitely done.
Mm-hmm. And it plays into that neon theme as well. Which
it really does. The whole movie is just so aesthetically pleasing, really.
Mm-hmm. You could just watch it. You don't even have to listen to it. You could watch it, and you probably figure out the entire plot.
Oh my god, there's a part with the ice bath, and something about the color saturation and texture in that one scene. I was like, oh, I love this movie so much. I want to see the very first one before she goes into retelling her story.
Yeah, so the initial introduction to her.
Yes. Yeah. Just the way they filmed that scene made it so good.
It also plays into her character really well, too. Do you know anything about the John Wick series?
I know it involves Keanu Reeves and I believe a dog.
It does involve Keanu Reeves and a dog. That
is the extent of my knowledge of John Wick.
Yeah. It also has the same type of fight scenes, has the same neon color palette. The director of Atomic Blonde worked on the first John Wick, except he didn't get a credit. Obviously you can see how that kind of influenced Atomic Blonde, but other than the fight scenes and the drenched in neonness, they're very, very different movies. Because one's about a spy trying to save herself so she doesn't get exposed as a triple agent, which, you don't want that to happen because that's bad.
Not even a double agent, but a whole triple agent.
But yeah, other than visually, they're very different. But a lot of people compare them. So, should we talk about the plot a bit?
Yeah, let's talk about the plot a little bit. Well, I am very bad at plot summaries, but luckily there was already a plot summary done for this, so I don't have to rehash it because that would take so much longer. Really, the whole plot had me hooked from start to finish. There wasn't really a single moment in it where I felt bored, which is a very rare occurrence during movies. So it's got a fast-moving plot with a bunch of little loops and turns that you wouldn't even expect, which is another thing. I'm very good at finding plot holes or what's coming around the bend, and it was refreshing to not know what was going on, but at the same time to just sort of see a pattern going on, like, oh, she slept with this girl for information, now the girl's dead, but she didn't have to be dead, and just...
She definitely didn't have to be dead. There was no reason to kill her. But,
well, kill your gaze trope.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the thing.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get started on the kill your gaze trope. That would be a whole different podcast. But really, it was a great plot. It kept me on my toes the entire time. Well shot, well thought out, well acted. Charlize Theron is very talented. So is Jamothy McAvoy's.
I've never heard him called that.
Me neither.
Yeah, it was definitely well acted. There wasn't really a moment when I didn't believe that these people were these characters. They were
absolutely.
full on 100% giving it their all.
Charlize was Lorraine.
For example, I've seen James McAvoy in several things. Like, it was like a different side of his acting, which kept me entertained. And I've never seen Charlize in. Well, I don't think I've ever seen her act in a different movie.
Really?
Not that I know of, in anyways.
She's very talented. It took me a while one time. I think she was in Snow White and the Huntsman or something like that. She was the evil queen, and I was like...
I have seen that.
She was the evil queen.
Yeah.
I want to say. So there you go. You've seen Charlize Theron.
Yeah. But her acting was really good too, especially her fighting in the whole movie was done really well, and fight choreography was really good. She had 8 personal trainers to help her master the choreography that she needed, and
that's real dedication.
it is. And you can definitely see that she
Yes.
is actually throwing a guy to the ground, or hitting them, or flying off of a balcony and hitting a wall, hitting a door. They didn't have to do that, but she was given the time and allowed to, and it definitely really shows, which gives this movie
integrity and design.
Yes, and design. Thank you. They made sure that the fights had a sense of believability, and that...
Oh, yeah, that was another thing I really liked about the film was it wasn't ridiculously overdone with the fight scenes. Like, there wasn't ridiculous amounts of blood everywhere. People, they actually looked like someone who'd been in a fight, not someone, they just took a ketchup bottle and went psh, 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 all over.
With that being said, even, like, bruises and the makeup, like, they looked like real bruises. They weren't, like, overly dramatic stage makeup or whatever you have to do to make it seen from a far distance.
Right, they had very, very talented makeup artists on that set.
Mm-hmm. The costume design, too.
Oh,
That
gorgeous.
was really good. Charlene's outfits through the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, she was so well, her whole, her entire wardrobe was just so well thought out.
So you were saying about the makeup artist and whatnot, and you're a theater person, so, like...
Yes.
I would say you know a lot more than I do.
There is actually a big difference between screen acting and theatrical on stage acting, due to the fact that with screen acting, the camera picks up so much more involving your face, and whereas theatrical makeup, you still have people like at least 20 feet away from you in the stage, they're 20 feet away from the stage, usually most times, so your makeup has to be very overstated on stage in order to properly convey what it needs to, whereas in movies, makeup is very subtle, supposed to look more natural. So they did a very good job of making her bruising and cuts and bleeding just very naturalistic and not insane.
Like, it's very believable, like, everything dealing with makeup, and even, like, the costume design.
They actually did beat up Charlize Theron.
Oh, well, I hope not, but... That'd be
lawsuit.
Yeah, basically. And speaking of, like, makeup and showing injuries, did you know that James McAvoy broke his hand on the set of Split, so he had to do all of his action scenes with an injured hand? Which could explain why he wears a cast, because it's not really explained. He just has one.
Sometimes you just have a cast, and you keep stuff in your cast.
Yeah, like an ice pick to stab a guy in the head with.
Yeah.
You know, because apparently that's what spies do. Did you have a favorite shot other than, like you said, the bathtub, ice bath scene?
It was really that one, and then, I don't know if it was a car chase or if the guy just got killed in his car.
There was a car chase at the beginning when she gets to Germany and they go through this,
It wasn't that part. I remember that
one?
part. It was not that. It was, the guy was, like, in his car or something, and he, like, got killed in his car, I believe. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. Some of my favorite parts. I think it was about an hour and 15 minutes in. There was a long take, what looks like a long take. She has a fight scene in this stairwell. She's trying to save Spyglass, who had memorized the list that she's looking for. And he gets shot by David Percival.
Oh, yeah, he just gets murked. He just absolutely gets murked.
Yeah, he does. Like, when Percival shoots him, or shot him, I was like, wait, what? What's going on?
That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, well, what are you doing?
It's one of those plot twists that they pull off so phenomenally that we didn't expect.
Yeah. And then Lorraine is like, you're not gonna die, you'll be fine. And goes through this whole big battle and this whole fight scene, which looks like a long take, but it's like 60 different shots.
It's just phenomenally edited.
It is, like, the editing is spot on for their fight scenes. Like, there's not a moment in time where you think, there's no shaky cam. They're very steady.
This movie is extremely underrated.
It is. I don't know how many people have watched it, but...
Leave a thumbs up if you have watched this movie.
Yeah.
Atomic Blonde.
It's pretty good. And, yeah, more people should watch it and talk about it.
You should leave us a comment if you have watched it because of this podcast and you want to talk to us about it.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah, we could answer questions or whatnot. If you have
a little
any.
Q&A afterwards.
Yeah. On a slightly different note, back to, like, favorite shots and whatnot. There's the scene where they're walking through the tunnel to get across, or they go under the wall to get back to the other side of Berlin. And that whole composition is just, it's so beautiful. Because you just have this light from this tunnel and this silhouetted figure, and you're just sitting there and you're looking at this and you're like, it's beautiful. And then later on, there's a shot that starts kind of upside down, and it...
Yes.
Yes. And it, like, pans back until, we're right side up again. And I love those types of things. Like, I wish more people would do them in their movies.
And they give me motion sickness, but I can really appreciate the whole depth of them.
Mm-hmm. They just give another level of...
surrealness.
Yeah, another level of surrealness. One thing I noticed when I was watching it, which, I don't know, was totally weird to me, but David and Lorraine and Spyglass are at her contact's, base, I guess, and some guy's on the computer, and this guy's just playing Tetris, just sitting there playing Tetris. I was like, okay, I was not expecting that.
It just adds a level of absolute realness and humanity to these people, and it's not elevating them to this super cool level. It's like, oh, this is a story about humans, not superheroes.
There's nothing very superhero-y about any of them, really.
Yeah, but sometimes action movies tend to elevate their main character's status by having them do nothing wrong and then having one violent outburst because they got one single thing wrong, whereas these people are like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna play Tetris on the job and just have fun. Yeah. Totally human thing to do, not 24/7 serious.
Which is always refreshing in movies, because like you said, there's these action movies where they just build up their main character, and all these superhero movies out here, and it's
constant hype.
Yeah, constantly. And they're just there and they have this status, but they just can't, if
they aren't relatable.
Yeah, relatable. There's no sense of reality to it, to the stories. Yes, there's a superhero here and they're fighting crime, but with Atomic Blonde, you actually see these people build relationships, and even though some of them may be lies, and
some of them may die.
Yeah, some of them may die. There's a sense of realness because you actually care about these characters because they make sure you care about them. If they die, in this case, some do.
Kill your gays.
Yes, the French spy. You actually care. You're like, why did they kill her?
She didn't have to die.
Yeah. Percival's just an idiot and stupid, and he didn't have to do that.
It's very hard not to care about them, really.
Which ties into the narrative of it, and it just draws you in. That's probably one of the reasons why when you saw this movie, you were like, I gotta watch this 10 more times, because it's just...
As a person who doesn't watch movies repetitively, yes, that's most likely it. Yeah, that means it's a truly good movie.
There's only so many movies out there that can make you sit down and
enjoy rewatching them over and over again. Yeah. Howl's Moving Castle is one of them.
Yeah, that movie's good. I've only seen it once, but
I have lost count of how many times I've seen it.
One thing that I didn't really get is the dream flashback nightmare that happens that she has.
I think it's there to elevate her sense of, like, importance and her sense of the stakes, really, of, okay, this is what happens when you form connections, which then she, of course, forms a connection with Delphine. But it also serves to remind her of how high stakes this mission is, like, of what she could lose. She could have all this in the future again, and then if she fails at her mission, she could absolutely lose this wonderful, happy future that she could potentially have.
Yeah. Did you notice when you watched the movie, the multiple times that you have, about the eye contact with the camera? Like, a lot of the times they're staring into the camera as if you were that person.
Yes, especially in the scene where she's telling it as, like, a recap. I remember her staring into the camera, and, like, her staring into it was, like, what started the whole flashback of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad that this movie is a flashback, because it just makes it, I feel like if it had been like a live action, quote unquote, idea, then it would have had that heightened, like, oh, she can't do anything wrong, there's high stakes. But going into it as a flashback, we're like, oh, well, this already happened, so there's no changing it, so it's a little less high stakes intensity.
Yeah, having it as a flashback definitely plays into, like, the mystery, but she already knows the conclusion. Like, they already know the conclusion, but
it still leads us on that journey to the conclusion.
Which is a complex conclusion.
Very complex.
Like, I'm a spy.
And a spy again.
Yeah, and I'm not really British. I'm American.
I'm also not really German. I'm American.
Yeah. It's like, okay. I never, like, once questioned the fact that she wasn't British.
Oh, no, not at all. I was so sure that this was... I was wondering what was going to go on at the ending. I thought they were going to, like, continue, like, the action maybe followed her in. No.
It's probably cooler to be a triple agent than, like, a double agent. Or, like, a single agent, like James Bond. Like, who cares about him?
Oh, James Bond is basic.
Yeah.
Basic.
Rather watch Atomic Blonde than any James Bond movie. You know, make an Atomic Blonde series. Which I did read about that...
I would wholly support that.
Yeah. Well, I did read about that there possibly is a sequel coming. It is now time for the film fact of the day. Today's film fact is about long takes. A long take is a continuous take that lasts much longer than a conventional shot. There is significant camera movement and elaborate blocking throughout these takes. Typically, these takes are done in one single take without any editing breaks. Some examples of films with continuous long takes are The Shining, The Protector, and Goodfellas. So, would you like to know some fun facts?
I love fun facts.
All right.
Hit me with them.
All right. Well, I already mentioned the one about the 8 personal trainers and the fact that James McAvoy had a broken hand.
Right.
But did you know that this movie was based off a graphic novel called The Coldest City, which was written by Anthony Johnston and Sam Hart in 2012?
I did not know that. That makes sense, though. I think, like, every movie nowadays is based off of a book or something like that.
I couldn't find much on it. Revolves around a spy who has to find a list of double agents who are being smuggled into the West. So they kind of stuck with that, and then they added more things like
the triple agent thing, or was that in the book?
I'm not sure if the triple agent thing was in the book, but if it was, cool, and if it wasn't, I'm glad they added it because it just adds that another level.
Oh my god, that heightened level.
And then her relationship, Delphine and Lorraine's relationship, that was added into the movie too, so that's not in the graphic novel. And that relationship also kind of helps create this sense of reality and the fact that they're humans and not just these super soldiers out there to fight.
Yes.
Another fun fact is during the car fight scene at the beginning, in that tunnel that they're driving through, is the same tunnel that has been in Captain America Civil War, and it's also the same tunnel that is used in the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. But this tunnel is a very common tunnel to use for filming, and since I know that, I was like, hey, that's the tunnel. So I'm glad they actually used that, because I think it's actually in Berlin, which helps also ground this movie in reality. Do you have any last thoughts about this movie?
It's an underrated masterpiece that somehow manages to grab all of the best parts of a spy movie, get rid of the stereotypical male lead, and throw in a female lead who does so much better than any fuddy-duddies in, like, The Kingsman or James Bond. Yeah. Taron Egerton, I'm sorry, but Charlize Theron is so much better than you at being a spy.
What would you rate this movie?
I'd give it a solid 10 out of 10 Triple Agents.
I would give it a nice 8.5 Triple Agents. I need to watch it a couple more times before I can give it a 10.
You gotta get on my level of watch.
Yeah, I do. You are the expert about this movie here currently. Woohoo! And then my final thoughts is that it's a really good movie, and everyone should watch it. And if you like neon colors, especially blue, green, and pink, it's all there. And then if you're a fan of noir films or spy movies, then definitely just pay the $3.99 on YouTube or Amazon Prime and just watch it at least once.
At least once.
Like, overall is beautifully shot and beautifully choreographed. Anything else?
I think I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for picking this movie. It's always nice to try out watching movies that aren't typically in the genres that I pick, so it was nice and refreshing. Yeah. So thank you again for being here. It was a pleasure to have you here talking about this movie.
It was a pleasure to be here.
And a big thank you to everyone who is listening. If you like hearing opinions and fun facts about movies, make sure you tune in to the next podcast coming soon. And until then, bye!